Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we'll be discussing about interview questions, or not only in this video, we'll have a series of videos where we'll be discussing about interview questions and specifically SQL interview questions that are being asked in most of the companies. And I hope that you find this useful. We'll be providing you the source code of the script in the description box below so you can copy and paste in the SSMS window and you can run those. We will be providing you the simulation script as well. Although I would have liked to provide a downloadable kind of a version, but we don't have access to that website or that setup, so we'll have to settle with this only. And before we begin, just a brief introduction about myself. I'm Lokesh. My name is Lokesh, and I'm working as data architect or data engineer in Winwire for past couple of years. And so basically, I have around 10 years of experience working on database domains, uh, mostly on the database development part, not so on the administration or administration part, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So, with that said, let's begin today's topic. So, we'll be discussing about a SQL interview question that is based on fixtures. So what you're given is you're given a teams table which has only single column team name and it is of varchar type. So it would have a number of entries. So let's say if you're a fan of cricket like myself, let's say that we need to organize the fixtures among these teams in Asia Cup. So the probable teams that we can think of are India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan. So these are the teams, although there are more teams coming on horizon, but let's stick to these five teams for the time being, for simplicity. And what we want in the output is we want the fixtures of these teams. So for example, India would play Pakistan, India would play Sri Lanka. But there is a caveat that none of the teams should play each other more than once. So India and Pakistan, for example, if they've already played a match, they will not. If we've already fixed one match between India and Pakistan, although it sounds a little, funny when you say you have fixed the match, but just for simplicity, let's not go into the literal meaning of what we're talking. So let's say India has played against Pakistan, so you cannot have one more match where Pakistan plays India or India plays Pakistan. So you got the point what I'm saying. So each team should play the other team only once, and it should not be repeated in simple terms. So this is how the data looks like right now. So you have five teams: India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and each team should play the only once. Now, by looking at it, you can clearly see that this is a case of combinations. If you have studied permutations and combinations during your academic years, so this is a case of combinations where uh, you somehow has to do come up with a combination result, and one candidate or one uh, what do you call keyword that SQL provides us is cross join. So we can always use a cross join to get the Cartesian product of the result. So in this case, if you do a cross join, rather self cross join on teams table, you would get uh, 25 rows because that is how the cross join works. So let's say you have table 1 and table 2, and table 1 has 4 rows and table 2 has 5 rows. And if you're doing a cross join between table 1 and table 2, you will get 20 rows. 4 into 5, 20 rows. Similarly, if you are doing a self cross join on these teams table, you will get 25 rows because the teams are 5 and we have 5 rows. But that is not what we want. So we want uh, to filter out entries like India versus India, entries like India versus Pakistan and Pakistan versus India, so there should be one entry. So we want to filter out those entries. So let's see how it works. So we will write a query. So let's first see how the result will look like if we were to combine or do a cross join on this table. So if you have used cross join, you must be familiar that you know don't need an on condition. So let's call it team 1 and let's call the other team as team 2. Now if I run this query, let's order the result set so that it makes sense, it's easier to comprehend. So if you run this query, you can see here Afghanistan, India looks good, Afghanistan, Pakistan looks good, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka looks good. But you have this anti-Afghanistan versus Afghanistan. So we want to filter this out. Also, since Afghanistan is already there is already a match that has been fixed between Afghanistan and India. You cannot have India and Afghanistan that you would be able to see in row number 15. So we want to filter out these kind of records. So how do we do that? We introduce a condition, where condition, where we say a dot team name lesser than b dot team name. Let's say how many rows we get. You might not be able to see the rows returned, but we got, oh, actually you can see it. So we got 10 rows, so which is actually correct. So if you do a permutation, sorry, if you apply a combination of 5 different entities with a subset of 2 entity, you will get 10 as the answer. So this answer is correct. But how do we get there? So let's try to understand this because it's very important that you understand how you arrived at the result so that if a similar question is asked or a similar scenario based question is asked, you can probably work on the solution. So let's see how we arrived at this result set. So we'll copy this result and we'll take it to Excel. Now, let's try to visualize how the result would look like had there been a where condition. Okay, so Afghanistan lesser than India? So just try to compare the alphabets. Is A lesser than I? Yeah. If is A lesser than I? Yes. Is A lesser than P? Yes. Is A lesser than Sri Lanka? S? Yes. Is A lesser than Bangladesh? B? Yes. Is A lesser than A? A? No. So let's mark it as red. Sorry, I wanted to fill this up, not change the font color. Now is B lesser than I? Yes. Is B lesser than P? Yes. Is B lesser than S? Yes. Is B lesser than B? No. Is B lesser than A? No. Is I lesser than I? No. Is I lesser than P? Yes. I lesser than S? Yes. I lesser than B? No. I lesser than A? No. So you might be able to follow how we are able to arrive at the result set. P lesser than I? No. P lesser than P? No. So say we are doing P lesser than P because the words are same, park and park. Had there been park A, park B, we would be comparing the results accordingly. P lesser than S? Yes. P lesser than B? No. P lesser than A? No. S lesser than I? No. S lesser than P? No. S lesser than S? No. S lesser than B? No. S lesser than A? No. Now we have highlighted the rows that should be filtered out. Sorry for that. So let's go to the data tab and do a filter. And now let's filter by color. How many rows are this? These are 10 rows. Let's see if it matches with the result we got here. Sorry for this. So you got 10 rows here, and you have 10 rows in Excel. Afghanistan, India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bangladesh, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. So it matches. So this is how it works. Hope it makes sense. And I want you to try with different set of numbers, different set of fixtures. For example, you uh, could try to fix matches between three teams, although I'm not able to think of a sport where you will have three teams playing each other in the same match. But you can try this out and hopefully it will make sense. So we will continue the series and we will continue to bring more questions. So if you have any observations, if you have any questions, do let us know in the comment box below. Till then, take good care of yourself. Thank you, guys.